levers that will be impacting this global supply chain out of this Iran-America war. We have been saying it's a geopolitical issue, and some say it's a religious issue, whereas I believe it's a bigger supply chain disaster. And I think it's important to understand the impact of this supply chain disaster. The first side of this impact is that the commodity prices go up because of shortage or perceived shortage. So in my 35 years of supply chain experience, I've never seen when the commodity prices go up, they go up very, very fast, but they come down very, very slowly, and sometimes they never come down. Matter of fact, it's it's an effect that it goes up like this, and then it plateau a little, and then it goes up again, then a plateau a little, and it goes up, and this is how actually inflation happens. So supply chain is a very, very big impact on any commodity pricing. But if you have a war and you have a supply chain scare, oh my God, then people actually buy in panic, and now you have a more shortage. And then it takes very, very long time to bring the um, warehouse levels back where they were. Sometime it takes maybe 2 to 5 years, maybe 10 years even. It depends on your product and commodity. So basically that is just one side of pricing hikes. But then the other side really is that Strait of Hormuz was, I'm going to say was, a free passage. There was really no toll there, whereas as we know, the biggest toll booth in the world are Suez Canal and Panama Canal. Now, if you look at it, only 5% of global trade depend on these passages, Suez Canal and Panama Canal. And their revenue is about, on average, about $5 billion. And I'm talking about toll revenue. I'm not even talking about the goods value that pass through it. I mean, usually the toll is like 1 to 2%. So now, if Iran really put a toll booth, which they have been talking about and very serious, they're actually charging some countries toll. They have a potential of 10 to 40 billion dollars per year. Yes, 10 to 40 billion dollars per year. And we have about 25 to 30% global trade, dependent on Strait of Hormuz. It's not just oil and gas. Oil and gas is very, very big. But then there are other things which pass through. I honestly believe that the whole Gulf, lives, and even, Asia and Europe live through this Strait of Hormuz. So I have been saying all along that it's not just a geopolitical issue or a religious issue, but it's mostly a supply chain issue and supply chain dominance issue. Because whoever controls Strait of Hormuz would be controlling the global trade, and whoever controls global trade has the control of global economy. So, of course, American genius, and especially some of Trump genius, thought that, hey, we are grabbing this, we are grabbing that, we increasing trade, with tariffs, we are basically trying to grab Iceland, we are trying to even grab Canada. We can just control wherever we want. But the reality is that we just don't control the world. We really need to have a well thought out strategy where we see that we could really sustain with that strategy. Problem is that we come up with very tactical solutions, and we want strategic outcome. Tactical solutions never really bring strategic outcome. So our President Trump, his strategy is really mostly tactical based. He'll try to use the trade tactic. He tried to use the Iceland tactic. He tried to use Canadian tactic. He tried to call Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. He tried to capture the Panama Canal. What are the focuses are tactics and short thinking of grabbing some small pennies. And it's basically all penny wise and dollar foolish that we end up trying to save some pennies. These are pennies in a bigger scheme of thing. If America lose its global presence in different strategic locations, if America lose trust of different countries, if America lose its bases, then no strategy will sustain, and you cannot. Yes, you might be thinking that you grab few pennies, but you actually lose, dollars, and that's exactly what happened in the case of Iran. We went out there and thought that we're gonna go there and do shock and awe, and we're gonna change the regime. On one hand, we are going to, help some religious folks in trying to think that, Israel can control the whole Middle East and it could be a biblical thing. And then on the other hand, we thought, oh, we will grab Strait of Hormuz, and God knows what was the plan, that maybe we were going to put some toll there because it's a huge toll over there. It's a huge potential. But Iran, China, and Russia had their own plan. And do they say that really man proposes, God disposes, that maybe God has his own plan? And it seems very clearly now that we didn't have a well thought out plan. I mean, unfortunately, our strategy even backfired in Iraq, and we were repenting. And that's one of the reason,
Unknown caller.
honestly, I was big supporter of Trump because I thought he's a very business focused anti-war person. But maybe he didn't really care for anti-war. He really cared for grabbing few dollars or maybe a few pennies, and then we end up actually paying. Not only we're not actually paying pennies, we are also paying, dollars. I mean, this is really the first war where America has really lost its global strategic positioning. And if some of us don't see it, unfortunately, we will see it. And I'll give you from the supply chain perspective in a few minutes. And then this is the first war where America is paying from her own pocket. And this is also the only war where actually our, you know, input, because we always used to have either countries or resources supporting our, expeditions. But this is the first war where no big country which can support us financially or even have any bigger global positioning is not supporting us. I mean, Israel is actually it's actually a money pit. All they do is use our resources, our people, um, you know, our ammunition. But any country that can actually support us is not there. So, on the other hand, we miscalculated that Iran would be cakewalk, and we still keep miscalculating because we got to understand that Iran has a very old, very long history of managing these type of disasters, and they come up with very innovative ideas. I gave you example of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his time, one of the biggest war, which was attack on Medina. They actually dug a 3 mile long trench, 3 meter long, I mean wide and 3 meter deep, all across from one mountain to another mountain to close the entire, passage to Medina. And that was on the strategy of Salman Farsi, who was actually Iranian, who came to see Prophet Muhammad and ended up staying there and ended up following him. And he gave that strategy because this is what they used to do 1500 years ago or even longer in Iran. So they always have, and there are many other tactics. And now what Iranian have done is very similar. They have actually dug out tunnels all across their, all across their, oceans, and they basically have the whole Strait of Hormuz and all the area near to it. They have tunnels, and they are using, their midget submarines, and they're using their tunnels to launch their attacks. And then also they have a very, very difficult mountain train, which is basically can hide many, many things. So this is not a cakewalk. It's not an easy country, and these are not very easy people. And then last but not least, these people, you have to understand and remember, these people are the dedicated followers of Hussein, peace be upon him. Hussein. Who was Hussein? Hussein was the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who went to, Kufa, which is in Iraq, and basically it was, that area was all same, And Yazid, who's the son of Amir Mavia, who wanted to get his bayat, which means he want Hussein to follow him, and Hussein only had 70 or so people with him, and some of them were women and children. And he said, "No, I will have a dialogue, but I would not really follow him blindly because he's a dictator." So he stood against dictator and he was martyred brutally, but he did not back down. These are the and Iranians are the most dedicated followers of Hussein. So they follow Hussein that okay, you can die for your cause, but you're not going to back down. And that's what Iranian are. Iranians say, look, we are attacked and we are going to protect. And if we're going to die, we're going to die. See, when somebody had that type of thinking, and then they have been developing their technologies and focus on the futuristic technology. Who knew 40 years ago that missiles will be more important, systems will be more important, processes will be more important, strategy will be more important than these tactics and these, planes and stuff. Iran has no planes, but they have the best missile technology and drone technology. Even Russia follow their drone technology. So coming back to supply chain disaster, that if we have a small scale in supply chain in one of the commodities and the commodity prices go up, now this is the biggest scare and the biggest producer of commodities are being you know drawn into the war. What do we expect? I mean, we definitely expect major shortages. We expect lots of price increases, and you already have seen it. But as a global supply chain, student, I will say that we should really have a long-term planning, and we need to really understand where the price is going to go, and you're going to have more increase in prices because I foresee that there will be toll on Strait of Hormuz. I don't see any way out of it. Now maybe China won't have any toll. Maybe some of the friendly countries to Iran, which are not many at this point, won't have the toll. But unfortunately, most of the countries are going to have toll. And you have heard our president, he said, you know what, heck with you, Europeans and everybody else. We don't have a oil and gas problem. You go out and you solve your problem, and we're leaving. I mean, that's kind of his mindset because at this point he's been told that we are living in a global economy, and whenever there is any effect on any major global commodity anywhere in the world, we all get impacted, no matter what you say. You can say we have enough, but look at our gas prices at the pump. They have gone from $3 per gallon to over $4. It's like 25% increase in a matter of month. And now, I mean, good luck for coming down. It may balance off and come down. Even if the war stops today, you will have almost a year to get the prices down. This is kind of what I have seen. If it takes a month for a price to go up, it will take a year or 10 years. It's a multiplication factor. It all depends that how eager and motivated the leaders are personally to bring those prices down. And I'm sure Trump will be very eager to bring the prices down because that's gonna really impact you know, his upcoming midterm election. So I really hope that this stops, but I really see that no matter what we do, it is not going to be possible. We can declare victory. I mean, the victory from the political end is different, and it seems like that we're going to win the battle in our own terms and lose the war. And losing the war mean that we had no toll, no, we had a free passage. I mean, Iran had zero toll in that Strait of Hormuz, believe it or not. And now they're talking about 1 to 10%. There's $1 trillion trade goes out of Strait of Hormuz per year. And if you take 1%, that's $10 billion. And if you take 10%, that's $100 billion. And people say the potential is somewhere in the middle, like 10 to $40 billion. Likewise, the other thing is that we will also unfortunately lose somewhat control on all those bases we have. It's not going to be possible for us to keep those bases, whether we agree or disagree. And that's the reason Trump is saying, you know what, we might just leave and you guys may figure it out, because any negotiation at this point may be worse than no negotiation. And that's the reason you see the negotiation is not happening, because sometimes having no negotiation is better than having any negotiation, and that's called BETNA, better alternate than negotiable agreement. So if your better alternate than negotiable agreement, is no negotiation, then that is better, because in negotiation, you know, Iran is asking for no basis. Iran is asking for all the uh, Iran is asking for free trade, and they can trade anywhere in the world, and there will be no sanctions. Iran is asking for getting money for all of their losses. Iran is asking for all these things, and then you know what we have to give. If we give anything, then we look like losers. But if we say, hey, no negotiation, we won the war, you can do what you want, and then what's going to happen? Of course, there will be scare, and nobody would be willing to do bases in any of these countries, and the countries won't agree. Gulf countries, they will go slowly out of American control and go into Chinese control. The Strait of Hormuz will be controlled by Iranian, and very likely there will be a toll. So hence the prices will stay up, because the toll is going to also impact on our pocket to increase prices. Because if you add 1% at the toll booth, it goes 10% effect on us. You can do the math, and that's what happens in supply chain. It's actually 10 times effect. And then, there's going to be shortage because of the scare and because of all the supply chain interruption. And, so, and then Iran will gain actually more control and will have more dominance and will be actually developing more technologies, because they see the benefit of their technologies they have developed. And they had a very futuristic vision of developing those technologies which were not very visible, and which were very effective, and they don't even have to have plane in the horizon. And so this was pretty smart. And then I believe that they are supported by other world powers, because loss of Iran is loss of global supply chain control, hence the loss of global economy control. And I don't know about Russia, but China definitely does not want that. So that being said, we see that this unfortunate conflict, even though we went to save the world, but we end up actually creating more problem. It's just like, we are being penny wise, dollar foolish. And may God bless us. As global supply chain leader, our job is to keep an eye on it and plan, and especially relook at our financials and see how that's going to play out for this year and years to come. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Thank you. Have a good one.